Hey everyone, welcome. It's Naomi, and today I want to talk about why we're not always so good at self-care. I'm going to talk about that. And I don't love saying things like, hey, sometimes we're not good at self-care, because I think that, gives people an out, particularly mom people, women people, an out. But I still want to talk about it because I hear that a lot from my fellow moms and from fellow women who say, I'm just not very good at self-care. Okay, and I think that's a little bit of a lie that we tell ourselves, and I'll explain why. It's not so much that we're not good at self-care, it's that we don't always know the best way to take care of ourselves. Okay, I'm going to say that again because I think that's actually really important. It's not that we're not good at self-care. It's that we don't always know the very best way to take care of ourselves because we sometimes have the wrong idea about what self-care is or should be. Okay, I mean, like, raise your hand if the first thing you think of when it comes to self-care is like getting a facial or getting a mani-pedi or, going to get a massage or taking a day at the spa. Anybody? I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things. Those things are fantastic for a lot of people, but not for everyone and not in all situations. Okay, and I think that one of the big things that tends to hold people back is that we tend to think of, like having a self-care day as being something that is a huge luxury or something that we have to take a lot of time out of our lives for, that we have to get a babysitter for, or that we have to like schedule in or something totally crazy like that. And the truth is that most self-care is not that, right? Most self-care does not require a schedule. It doesn't require a babysitter. It doesn't require a ton of money, right? It simply requires knowing what feeds your soul. Knowing what makes you feel good, knowing what allows you to take care of you. Okay, so I want to just give you two little ideas to think about so that you can reconsider what self-care really is and when you can apply these different ideas to yourself. So there are two different types of self-care. Okay, one type of self-care you can think of as, deeply nourishing. Okay, now it's not deeply nourishing like, going to the spa deeply nourishing. It's deeply nourishing in that it's something that you just love. That when you think of things that you love, it's like one of the first things that comes up. Something that I love that just makes me feel good in my body that I gravitate to is movement. I mean, yeah, I'm a yoga teacher for a reason, but I was a dancer and an athlete before that, right? And still am, to to a degree. Like movement makes my body and my mind and my heart feel more alive. So movement for me is self-care, and it doesn't really matter what that movement is. Whether it's getting on my yoga mat or whether it's going for a run or whether it's dancing in my kitchen to like Taylor Swift. Not that I would, I do that just because my daughter loves Taylor Swift. It's not, anyway. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? What my body is doing to move. Movement feels really good. But if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, that does not sound at all nourishing to me, then it's not going to be, right? So it's thinking about what are those things that really light me up, that I absolutely love, that make me feel so good, that I gravitate to. That's nourishing self-care, right? And that's the kind of thing that you do when you kind of need to feed your soul a little bit, right? And not just your soul, it could be your body, it could be your mind, like there are a lot of different ways to feed those things. And that's sort of, the other piece of this, right? That's the other piece of, these two things. So I'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, so stay tuned. But the other self-care is balancing self-care. And that's the self-care that you don't always gravitate to, right? It's, like if you raised your hand and you were like, yeah, movement is not, it's not my bag. It's not my jam. I don't like it. It makes me cranky. Sometimes we actually do need that also. So the biggest example for me is like, I'm not really good at taking rest, right? Like, as I've just said, like, I love to move. Like, I love to be in movement all the time and to be in action. So like taking rest is hard for me. I'm not good at naps or, doing restorative yoga or taking breaks. Like I tend to go, 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 go. When I start to feel really burned out, when I start to feel like I'm just spiraling too much or super overwhelmed or just, just feeling like everything is too much, I need that balance, right? I need my body to move more in the opposite direction. And so I need some of the things that I don't gravitate to, right? I need the rest. And those are just, sort of twin examples, right? Like the movement and the rest, right? Can you see how they're opposites in some ways? Okay, so whatever you gravitate to, that's going to be the thing that, you kind of want to do more of, right? It's going to fill your bucket. It's going to make you feel good. Okay, but on the other end of things, you need every once in a while to do something that might not really be what you gravitate to, but actually makes you feel a little bit more balanced and a little bit more steady in yourself and a little bit more grounded. Okay, so that's one way that we have to look at self-care. So instead of saying, I'm bad at self-care, you maybe say, I just don't really know what makes me feel good or what makes me feel balanced. And that's what we need to figure out. So that's the first and most important thing. The second thing is what I was talking about a few minutes ago, which is the idea that self-care isn't just for your body, okay? It is sometimes for your mind. It's sometimes for your spirit. So it's not just saying, oh, I need something that's going to fuel my body. It's also sometimes saying, like, my mind needs a little bit of a break, or my mind needs a little stimulation. Okay, it's acknowledging that self-care isn't just about like deep relaxation. Sometimes it's about like waking yourself up. So thinking of it from this perspective is saying, like, what does my mind need right now? Does it need that deep nourishment, whatever that is for me, which might mean the deep nourishment is that deep relaxation, or it might mean the deep stimulation, right? Like I need something to energize my brain, or do I need that balance? And will that balance do one of those things or the other? Okay, so self-care is not always about like, how do I make my body feel good? A lot of times self-care is how can I attend to my mind? How can I tend to my soul? And those are very different things. So again, that'll lead into this idea of it's not so much that you're bad at self-care. It's that you don't always know what you need. So it requires like really sitting down and thinking and understanding what makes you tick, what supports you, what gives you the goods. I mean, that's really at the heart of self-care. So if there's nothing else that you get from this, what I want you to understand is that self-care is not one size fits all. Okay, it is not just about the manis and the pedis and the spas and the massages and, the facials and, all those things that we tend to associate with self-care. What I want you to realize is that it's not about being bad or good at self-care. It's about knowing yourself, right? And the more you know yourself, the better you can take care of yourself. Okay, so stop saying that you're bad at self-care and instead get more educated about what supports you. Does that sound like a plan? I hope so. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is something that I feel super passionate about, in case you couldn't tell. I'd love to hear your ideas. And if you're not sure, I have an awesome quiz that you can take. You can find it in the description. Super easy quiz that'll give you an idea of where you might fall on that spectrum and what self-care might nourish you, as well as what self-care might balance you based on your unique needs. So take a look at that quiz in the description. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to chatting with you more really soon. Until then.